Thank you, Your Honor. If you would join me in a moment of silent reflection. And now if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Here.
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Here.
Councilmember Ford?
Here.
Councilmember Jones?
Here.
Councilmember McGough?
Here.
Councilmember Miller?
Here.
Very good. We have the approval of the minutes from May 21st, 2018. Any changes or corrections? Seeing none, they will stand approved as presented. Next, under what we would normally have under recognitions and communications, we understand we've got a presentation on radon-aware.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have guests here from the Jefferson County in Public Health, and that gentleman is Mitchell Brown, and he's going to lead our presentation tonight.
All right, Council, thank you so much for allowing me to come and present on radon. So as I was said, my name is Mitch Brown. I am with the Jefferson County Public Health Department, and I'm here to talk today about radon awareness. I believe you guys have a radon reduction roadmap that was part of your packets that was handed out. I'm going to be coming back to that in a little bit, but just want to make sure that you guys got that. And so before I start my part of the presentation, what I'd like to do is play our radon aware video for you. So if you don't mind, Kelly.
Been together for 25 years.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
It's in our ground and it seeps up.
Radon is a naturally occurring gas, which occurs in the crust of the earth.
The more you breathe radon, the more chance you have of DNA being hit and the cell mutated.
Aside from smoking, it is the leading cause of lung cancer.
I worked in a home office. That's what resulted in my cancer.
Wheezing, shortness of breath, those kinds of symptoms, so people don't necessarily go to the doctor.
He was only 58 years old when he passed away, and we had a 13-year-old son.
Thank you. So today what I want to talk to you about is about the radon aware work that is being done by the Public Health Regional Radon Roadmap Partnership, and that's PHR3. So what we're doing is we're working to prevent lung cancer from indoor radon exposure. So the good news is radon is easy and cost-effective to reduce. The bad news is radon is a group A carcinogen that causes lung cancer in people, as you saw in the video. So tobacco, smoke, and products are also in the same category. The American Lung Association, American Medical Association, EPA, National Academy of Sciences, National Council on Radon Protection and Measurement, the U.S. Surgeon General, the World Health Organization, and others all agree that radon is a serious national health problem. So if you look at the next slide here, you'll see that the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment map shows all of Colorado is at risk for high indoor radon levels. The area outlined in the yellow on the map shows the 7-county region participating in the Public Health Regional Radon Roadmap Partnership. With that, 55% of Colorado residents live in this 7-county region. Along the Front Range, 46 to 58% of homes have high radon levels. I'm supposed to stick to the script here, which is kind of why I'm reading, but I'll just say that I am a City of Arvada resident. Love it. But when we bought our house, we did have high radon levels, actually at 13 picocuries per liter. And you'll hear here in a second that in Colorado, living in a home with average levels of radon at 6.4 picocuries per liter for 1 year is like having 200 chest x-rays. So that's more than 3 chest x-rays for every person in the home every week. So lung cancer in non-smokers is the 8th leading cause of cancer death in the United States. And 10 to 14% of those lung cancer deaths in Colorado are from radon exposure. So the Public Health Regional Radon Roadmap is a radon-aware collaboration between 5 local health departments representing the 7 Front Range counties. They are Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Broomfield, Denver, Douglas, and then Jefferson County. So again, 55% of Colorado's population live in these counties along the Front Range. These local agencies are working with builders, building officials, home buyers, real estate professionals, and elected officials to promote radon awareness. So in 2018, 13 Front Range communities' elected officials have adopted proclamations recognizing National Radon Action Month, which is in January, and the health hazard radon presents in homes, schools, and other buildings. Over 160 Front Range real estate professionals have pledged to be radon aware by providing their clients with up-to-date information on radon and always recommending certified radon contractors for testing and installing radon systems. And more than 1,200 potential home buyers participating in Colorado Housing and Finance Authority's programs have been educated about radon. So the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority's mission is to strengthen Colorado by investing in affordable housing and community development. In addition, this collaboration has also created a comprehensive radon technical guidance document for Colorado. A radon reduction roadmap, including more than 40 radon programs and policies to aid communities in becoming radon aware, is in the handout that I've given out with your packets. So a lot has been happening on the policy front as well. Cost-effective radon-resistant new construction practices are being adopted voluntarily by our Front Range builders. In addition, in Jefferson County, we have 2 communities, Golden and Lakewood, and Jefferson County, for the unincorporated areas, have recently adopted radon-resistant new construction building codes for residential construction. In total, 30 cities and counties across Colorado have adopted the radon-resistant new construction building codes. And proper installation of radon-resistant new construction in single-family and multifamily dwellings can reduce indoor radon levels by up to 50%. So the public health radon, or the PHR3, local public health agencies are encouraging communities to join other Colorado communities in becoming radon aware, which is why I'm here tonight. And I provided you with a copy of the Radon Reduction Roadmap to introduce to you and recommend radon programs and policies for communities. The programs and policies range from easy to implement to those requiring more effort to achieve based on the community's level of radon awareness. I would like you to review the Radon Aware Roadmap and identify 3 radon programs or policies that you think you could implement that could increase radon awareness and reduce the radon exposure in our community. So I look forward to future discussions with you regarding implementing and recommending radon programs and policies in our community to further radon awareness. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for having me here tonight, supporting our efforts in preventing lung cancer from indoor radon exposure. And I believe Kristen has emailed you all the presentation, but I can email it to you again. And at this time, if you have any questions, more than happy to answer.
Any questions from council? I've got a couple. What's the, do you have a cost figure in terms of what the industry is telling you for new construction to
I do not have a cost on that. We normally don't get involved with the cost part of that.
So you wouldn't know the cost to retrofit either then?
Oh, to retrofit?
Yeah.
Based on personal experience, I believe it was about $1,000.
Okay, it's what it costs you for your house
Yes.
to do that for your home.
Yeah.
Well, glad you're here in Arvada.
Well, thank you. Again, lovely city, love it. Love
Great.
Old Town, so.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have public comment on issues not scheduled on our agenda. I have a couple of family members from the Chittour family, if they would like to come forward and introduce themselves and make their comments. did a great job on the Pledge of Allegiance, so. Mom, if you want to. Okay, hi. Well, I need you to come down here to the podium. You know, we don't bite. Okay. And you could just pull that microphone right down. There you go.
I am Madhvi Chittur. I am 7 years old. I live in Arvada. I met the governor of Colorado, Mr. Hickenlooper, and the U.S. Congressman, Mr. Perlmutter. I came here for and declared Plastic and Styrofoam Awareness Month. I came here for 2 reasons. My first reason is I request you to approve a recycling plant at the Colorado West. Arvada West. My second reason I came here is that I request you to ban styrofoam because it is non-recyclable, non-decomposable, and non-biodegradable. It is burden to the landfill, and it makes leachates and microplastics and goes into our like the waters, like groundwater and streams. And it also goes to our drinking water. And when we drink the water, it doesn't make us healthy.
Okay.
And thank you.
Well,
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having us here. My name is Lalita Chittur. I am her mom, and we also represent a non-profit that's called Madhvi for Ecoethics. And she's the founder, like actually because of her inspiration, we are just supporting her. We want to, we request you to approve a recycling plant. We see the need for another recycling plant or a sustainability initiative, especially because of the growing population in Arvada and also the lot of construction in the west of Arvada. We definitely see a need for recycling, and we also visited the neighboring recycling plants, and they too said definitely there is a need because other areas in Colorado like Steamboat Springs, they want a sustainability program. And because of the logistics, it would be good if we have another recycling plant somewhere in the vicinity of I-70 and I-25. So we would submit to you a detailed proposal, but today is our first effort to make, to just come and raise an issue about that. And the second thing is our request is to ban styrofoam. That's just as she said, the food containers, they are a big burden to the landfill. Every day the schools in all over the state and especially in Arvada too, everybody uses styrofoam ware, like plates, utensils, bowls, everything. So that it leaches even styrene into the kids' food. It's very, very less, but even then in an everyday basis, it's a health hazard. And secondly, when it goes to the landfill, it causes leachates, which again comes back to our drinking water supply. And it creates microplastics, and again that affects our health. Now there is no monitoring of microplastics in the drinking water supply anywhere, but that is becoming an issue raised by World Health Organization as well as the United Nations North America here division, that we have to be very alert or help to reduce our plastic footprint. So our sincere request is for the city of Arvada to ban styrofoam, especially the containers, the food containers. That would be a great step. We spoke even to the Boulder city, the people who recycle there, and even the sustainability plants which is operated in Arvada too, and nobody is recycling it. They are not able to recycle it. So please, we want you to ban styrofoam food containers
Okay,
to start with.
Very good. Thank you for that. What we'll do is, I think it'd be good for you to be in contact with our sustainability committee. And I don't know if you have been, but staff can assist you with that.
Awesome.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Mary Jo Giddings. Bye-bye. Thanks for being here. Boy, Mary Jo, you got a tough act to follow. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Arvada City Council. My name is Mary Jo Giddings, and I'm here to invite you and our viewers to our Arvada Historical Society 8th Annual Garden Tour. It'll take place on Saturday, June 23rd, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I know that's a busy, busy weekend, but hopefully you can work this in somehow. 6 wonderful residential yards will be showcased this year, as well as Star Acre Farms, our community garden for this year. The garden host will be there to answer your questions, and light refreshments will be served along the way. At one of the homes, you'll find birdhouses. As well as having the host there to answer your questions, you're going to have garden greeters there too. And with us tonight, Fran Evans, Scott Staley, Anita Markison, and Nancy Benson. They're all on the garden tour. They're all helpers with it. Now, we see that many of our Arvada residents have tried to downsize, moving into patio homes and condos. But no matter the size, many of our residents still want to garden. One of the many MINI gardens that you'll see will be at the home of Jim and Nancy Ford. If you go to her place, you will get to see Figgy, her fig tree, and Ethel, her blue spruce. The tickets are $15 each and cash only, and they may be purchased that Saturday at the Arvada Center in the plaza. Easy parking, easy in and out, and we really appreciate the center letting us do that. At that time, you'll receive a map and a description of each of the gardens. It's self-guided, and you can take them in any order that you wish. You can stay as long as you wish. This is a fundraiser for the Arvada Historical Society for our mission of preserving Arvada's rich history and making it available to the public. We are always looking for suggestions. So as you're walking your districts, if you see a yard that stands out to you, please pass it on to us. We would start looking for next year already. And thank you, Bob, for advertising our event in the newsletter, your online newsletter again. So that's Saturday, June 23rd. Come join us if you can, or tell somebody else about it who likes gardening. And I don't advise you to plant the seeds because you'll know some of them are quite old, but maybe they're magic. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for what you do. Any other member of the public that would like to address City Council at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I didn't submit a
That's okay if
user
you'll
number.
state your name and your address.
Yes.
And
I am Katie Tenholzen. I live at 6100 Dudley Street in Arvada. I'm part of the Arvada Festivals Commission, and I just came to give a couple updates on some of our events that we just had and gearing up for. So this past Saturday was Arvada Trails Day, and that was hosted at Majestic View and Two Ponds, and we had a family bike ride and recreational and live bird demonstrations and guided nature walks, and it was a beautiful day, so there were a ton of people out, and it was really great. And then we are also gearing up for Arvada on Tap, which is July 21st, Saturday, and that will be held at Ralston Park Edition. And it's a craft beer and barbecue festival. So there'll be 27 local breweries and an amateur barbecue competition. And additionally, we always need volunteers the day of, so we love to see your faces, and it's a great and easy way to give back to your community. So, and then finally, we also added 11 new members to the Arvada Festivals Commission this past May, last month. So we are now up to 25 volunteers, which is great. So thank you for your time.
thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tara Lindsay. I live at 6489 Iris Way. And I've never been to a city council meeting before, so forgive me.
No problem.
My family and I, we don't live far from the Ralston Central Park. And we are so blessed to have that in our area. So thank you so much for those of you who may be involved in making that happen. We love taking advantage of it. However, we found that as locals, we've had to stop going there on the weekends. It is horribly congested. It seems as though people from all over the Denver metro area have found our little gem of a park and are taking advantage of what it has to offer. And I'm not sure if there's a way to enforce a permitting for parties or permitting for alcohol, or if there, especially on Saturdays and Sundays, or if there's a way to maybe increase park ranger patrol or police patrol during those times. It seems as though there's a lot of people there drinking a lot of alcohol, bottled beers, things like that. And then what's happening is they're just leaving trash everywhere. I mean, it's just so unfortunate and so sad. My family and I try to pick up whenever we're there. My son and I go there on Mondays. He's 4, so we like to play at the park. And I'll just teach him to like try and pick up after everyone. So we bring little gloves and you know, we take up the trash wherever we find it. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know who I should be reaching out to, or if there's a volunteer system that maybe I should initiate, something of the nature just to try and preserve the park and keep it as nice as it is so it doesn't go by the wayside quicker than we want it to. So I'm just looking for a little advice.
You bet. So why don't you give your contact information to the city clerk, who's sitting right here at this first table, and somebody from staff will be back in contact with you.
Okay.
With regard to that. And I think there is a permitting process for the, Mr. Devon, can you respond to that?
I believe there's permitting for certain use of facilities, but not necessarily for the use of the splash pad.
Right.
We'll review the transcript of tonight's tape and get back to council and get back to
Tara.
Tara?
Yeah.
Get back to Tara as well.
Very
Okay.
good.
Yeah, and I read on the website, it looks like there's no permitting for the picnic tables or having parties or alcohol. It doesn't look like there's any permitting enforced at all.
And I don't think alcohol is permitted.
Pad.
Right.
Yeah. We'll get back with all the
Okay.
all the accurate information.
Very good.
All right. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for coming.
your time.
You bet.
Oh, I don't want to take your remote.
Anyone else wish to address council at this time? Okay, seeing not, I will move on then to our new business. We've got a few items on the consent agenda. The first is 18045, which is a resolution authorizing a renewal and amendment to a construction contract between Arvada and In Situ Form Technologies in the amount of almost $2 million for 2018 trenchless sewer main replacement project. Next item is a resolution authorizing a construction contract between Arvada and Brandon Construction Company in the amount of approximately $384,000 for the 2017 water meter valve replacements. Next one is a resolution authorizing a construction contract between Arvada and Just BU doing business as Star Playgrounds for the 2018 Park Playground Equipment Replacement Program in an amount not to exceed approximately $323,000. Next one is a resolution authorizing a construction contract between Arvada and Garney Construction for pipeline relocations ahead of the Denver Water Conduit 16-inch in an amount not to exceed $2.746 million. Next is a resolution authorizing the assignment of the City of Arvada's private activity bond allocation to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority pursuant to the Colorado Private Activity Bond Ceiling Allocation Act. The sixth item is a resolution authorizing a third amendment to the agreement between Arvada and Mueller Engineering for engineering services for the intersection of West 72nd Avenue and Indiana Street, can I say yay, and the 72nd Avenue for the Union Pacific Railroad grade separation, can I say yay again, in an amount not to exceed $115,000 approximately. Next one is a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between Arvada and the Arvada Fire Protection District for the use and maintenance of Arvada's public safety radio system, approved back in 2013 by City Council. Eighth item is a resolution accepting an annexation petition concerning White Annexation Number 2, which is located at 7519 Sim Street, finding that that petition is substantially compliant with State Statute 31-12-107, setting a public hearing for July 16, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. at Arvada City Hall for City Council to determine whether the area meets the requirements of CRS 31-12-104 and 105 and is considered eligible for annexation. Next item is a resolution accepting a general warranty deed from Equity Trust Company, custodian FBO Robert Patterson IRA, and pertaining to the Dylan Walker annexation at 6315 Quaker Street. Final item on the consent agenda is a resolution authorizing an agreement between Arvada and Golden Triangle Construction for the Arvada Police Department Delta Sector Construction Project for a guaranteed maximum price of $4,260,190. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. Ford?
I move that consent items number R18-045 through R18-054 be approved.
Motions for approval of the consent agenda? All votes are cast. That passes 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution R18055, a resolution adopting the City of Arvada Cultural Master Plan. Mr. Devon.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm certainly prepared to talk about this. However, I also see members of the Arts and Culture Commission here, and didn't want to perhaps steal their thunder unless they would like me to. Just keep going? Want me to keep going? Okay.
Oh, Mr. Dyer, you're not going to make a presentation tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get out of here an hour and a half sooner than I thought we were. That's pretty good.
Not necessarily.
Okay. I meant to check with them before, but anyway, what is before you tonight is a resolution accepting adopting the City of Arvada Cultural Arts Cultural Master Plan. This has been worked on for over a year. This commission, the Arts and Culture Commission, has done a great job of gathering public input over a number of events over the past year. As an example, after selecting the consultant 23.4 Degrees, they participated in a number of events such as the Chocolate Affair in February of this year, an online survey, an open house. I think did a very good job of gathering input and providing a lot of great information in the Cultural Master Plan. One of the things I think that's important to note is that there are a number of actions in the Cultural Master Plan that we will have to look at staff in terms of potential expenditures. I know one of the things that we're looking at is the additional expenditure of money for public art, which we would perhaps propose going forward for the capital plan. There's also some potential costs associated with staffing and programming that we will look at, and the City Council, by adopting this plan tonight, is not necessarily making any commitments around those particular issues. They would come to you as part of the annual budget process for you to consider in a separate action. But tonight, the resolution is before you, and staff supports the resolution and would recommend that you adopt the resolution as proposed.
Very good. Questions from council? Ms. Ford?
I have a number of questions. Dee, would you want to answer some of them, or?
Try.
So I wanted to ask you, first of all, once this plan is adopted, does the committee have a goal that it wants to start working on immediately?
Actually, we're going to bring that up on agenda Wednesday evening at our first meeting after this. So right away, we don't have a clear plan as to what we're going to try to tackle first, but we're definitely going to discuss it.
Okay. I needed clarification on something. On the Arvada Steering Committee, is the Arvada what we could call similar to Sustain Arvada, in that Arvada is the title for the overall goal of increasing art in Arvada?
That little Arvada thing
Yeah.
you're talking about, it's not really meant to be any official title to anything. We just kind of used it throughout the process as, a quaint little, I guess, code word. Because we didn't really name it the Arvada Master Plan or Cultural Master Plan. It's, the Arvada Cultural Master Plan, I guess it was kind of a title that we gave the steering committee at some point, and then just kind of, spread it through the document and used it. So it's really just an identity thing, but it wasn't really an official title, or it was not meant to be an official title.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure as far as clarity.
But I'm not expecting it to show up on road signage all over the city now. So.
Okay, good. It was mentioned that a list of art owned by the city of Arvada was compiled. Was there anything discussed about that list in terms of what was going to be done with that list?
We're developing a database that is already in use by the Arvada Center staff. Arvada Center staff has had a database in play for a number of years now. Nobody's been maintaining it, though, until we put a subcontractor on it. Essentially, it was a member of the commission that has museum curation experience and does freelance work in that field now. So it's Rochelle who's been working with the Arvada Center and at the Arvada Center cataloging the inventory that's there now. And most of the properties and things, as far as I know, she's pretty much completed the inventory and has now begun to compile the database. And another thing that's on our agenda for Wednesday evening is the fact that the software that's utilized for that is horribly out of date. So it needs to be upgraded, and would probably be a good idea to take advantage of that now. And as we move forward with some of our own database and mailing lists and things like that, I think we're going to propose an idea of trying to do some work, putting together more of an inventory within maybe the city web pages and that sort of thing, because we would like to show off more of the art that we already own as much as we can. And one of the things we're going to try to do is rotating imagery on our web pages.
Okay. That's
there is a plan for it, and we are working on that.
And then the Arvada Arts database that was mentioned in the plan, is that something that's been started already? I would imagine that there are other organizations, the previous art walks, the current Friday night art walks going on in Old Town? Is there a database at this present time?
No, we don't have anything together right now, but it's another thing that's in our list of goals. That, yeah, we want to make sure that we, collaborate with as many people as possible. If we can, latch on to like the chamber's calendar or something like that, or begin to utilize or create our own. And again, some level of social media presence and newsletters and things like that are things that we're already talking about.
Okay. And then in the plan, it mentions the survey about arts and culture results on page 29. You mentioned a few of the, or several of the results are mentioned in the plan, but have we gotten a copy of that report yet, that survey?
We haven't actually compiled a report, and it's one of those things I kind of want to ask of our consultants about as well, is what we're going to do with all that data. The last I even saw it, it was like 32 pages of written responses or something like that, so there's plenty of reading to do there. But it'd be a really good idea for some of us to take some time to kind of like, take the top 5 or 6 things out of it, and maybe even the bottom 2 or 3, just to be aware of them, and show or make some list or somehow present that. It could have been an appendix at the end of the. Yeah. Yeah, and to have all that information available is one of those things that I keep coming back to, this idea of a social media presence or some level of web pages or something through the city that we can begin to show other people all our findings and the things that we've discovered along the way and along the process of developing this plan as well.
I'd like to encourage that it be accumulated and documented, and I think it'd be really helpful for council to see the results too, just to see what people have said about the arts in Arvada. In the report, it talks about, it makes a great case for resident attachment and community attachment in terms of increasing economic development. Talks about people who are more attached to their community, are more involved in their community. I guess this question would be for Mr. Devon. Mark, do we currently in the city, do we measure resident attachment?
I'm not sure that we precisely measure resident attachment. We certainly measure resident satisfaction, and I think that leads to some conclusions about attachment. But I'm not certain that we actually measure resident attachment.
One of the concerns that I have is that it's not necessarily a concern, but a comment was made in the plan that with the work and result of this plan and the work that will be coming after this plan, that it will increase resident attachment. And I'd really like to see us measure that, because I think it would be a very important measurement for us to see that our money is actually being utilized in a positive way, and that what we're saying is true in this document, which I believe it is, but I think that it's important for us to actually measure that, since it has very positive implications. There's also, I wanted to question about the events, the Tour de Park and the skate park event. Now, those are currently going to be done by the University of Colorado students. Is that something that we're thinking that if it's successful, it would be taken over by the city at some point, or?
Well, what the students at the university did was really gave us like business plan proposals, and we have them, and I'm certainly willing to share those with anybody that'd like to see them. Obviously, the group of students graduated or left in May, and now in the fall will be another group of students. So, from my conversations with Storm, he said, as a matter of fact, he can't really commit future classes to anything until like the classes actually come up. So moving into the spring of next year, we'll have to see what exactly happens as far as their participation is going to be. But they're pretty high on our list of priorities to keep pushing for and to move forward with. So it would take a number of collaborative efforts I see with Festivals Commission, Parks Advisory Board, Parks, Hospitality and Golf, actually city employees, and the kinds of people that we need to all kind of get together to do these things. And again, it's one of those things that, in my estimation, is real high on my list of things to do. So yeah, I'm hoping that we'll be able to put on at least one of those things. We're kind of looking towards the summer of 2019 for them. And I think that a year should be plenty of time to do that. And as long as we can get a lot of other people on board and find the resources necessary to actually put on things like that, we hope to do that. And then hope that it'll be an annual event. Or the original concept for the skate park thing was actually a series of concerts throughout the summer, so that there'd be at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 in the good weather months, and then see how those things go. So, and part of our own surveying efforts, we've had a number of positive responses to the idea of having more arts festivals and more music festivals in Arvada. So we're definitely going to take a good, strong look at those and try to collaborate that effort and see that those things actually happen.
Okay. And then, Mr. Devon, I have another question on, in terms of all these suggestions, the creative funding part, the looking at artists and their studios and what the city of Arvada may or may not allow in its land development code. Since we're doing the land development code right now, is that something that we would be looking at prior to it being approved?
Prior to the approval of the revised land development code?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that would go also for the sign codes?
Yes, anything that relates to the land development code that's associated with anything in this document we should look at and will look at.
Okay. And then I have one other question, and it has to do with the Arvada Center and the naming of the Arvada Center. This is a kind of an area of contention for me, because the Arvada Center goes by both the Arvada Center and its correct title, which is Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities. And I'm just going to make one comment on the paper, on the plan, because as I read the plan, the very first mention of the Arvada Center, it was identified as the Arvada Center. And then in several other spots, which I can find, but not at the moment, one of them said the Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities. And I would just like to make sure that when and if this document is approved, that when we refer to the Arvada Center, we refer to it as the Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities, and then if after it is referred to by its correct title, the Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities, that in other areas of the document that it could then be related or referred to as the Arvada Center. It was just, for me, it becomes a marketing issue and an identity issue, and I would like to see us identify it by its correct name and then say the Arvada Center if we just want to talk about using a short name for the Arvada Center. It's a sticking point, but great plan. I enjoyed it.
We'll make sure that that's changed in the document.
Thanks.
What we typically do in those kind of things, you give the full name the first time, hereinafter referred to as Arvada Center.
Right. So on page 6, it should be the full title, and then everywhere else.
Yeah, that can certainly be addressed.
Great.
There's no
Ms.
question
Miller,
we can fix
you're
that.
next.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had one question, I guess. It says, in the financial impact, there are no financial impacts in adopting the Arvada Cultural Master Plan. And in the very next sentence, it says, however, a number of goals detailed in the plan cannot be achieved without corresponding funding and or staff. So it was mentioned in the last workshop, I think, that maybe we could see 2 different plans, one that said no funding required and one that had funding required, but we have one plan still, and I'm just not sure that I'm comfortable adopting a plan that calls for funding, but we don't know the funding source. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not really a question, a thought.
Okay. Mr. Pfeiffer?
Well, now that you brought that up, that threw me for a little bit. But any of our plans don't really have a funding source, because even if we do transportation and all these other plans we do, we don't always have a funding source, no. just as Allard would say, it's one of those plans that sit on a shelf, I think, and he gets upset that we never pull them off and actually do them. Not that that would apply here, but our hope would be this is a first step towards that, would be my thought. So my thought was, this is great. I think that this is at least a first step in the right direction. It's at least documenting things that we keep talking about in the community, but we've never put words and pictures together. And now we see it, and now we can touch it. And I think it really just highlights our need, and I think it's provided some depth in the commission and some vision and a work plan to start with. I think I was on the Arvada Center Board or whatever we called it, the public arts and places and all these other names that we didn't really get anything done because there wasn't any funding. But now that we've have a commitment by organizing this commission, I think that's our commitment to all of you, that we want to see what the next step is. And this is a first next step. And then I think funding source will figure it out. I know there's so many other competing priorities. But I think everything that was said in here provides a sense of place and a sense of community. And that's what makes Arvada very special in my eyes, is that there's this unspoken sense of community. But when you go to other communities that does have art and there's identifiable or distinguished areas, or I can name so many places and I can tell you what art and where to meet just based on art as wayfinders. And I think it shows a complexity of our community when we have art in public places. I also like in here that we're looking at a broader breadth of festivals and engagement of our community. I've always struggled that we've never focused for too much under, like, say, under 25. Arvada on Tap has been something that's popped up. Some Sand City, some other festivals are starting to show up, but we've never engaged our younger youth or young adults. And I appreciate the fact that you're suggesting that in here, and I like it. So I will be supporting this resolution to move this forward, and we'll see what future has for all of you.
Mr. McGough.
Thank you. I want to commend the Commission on the report itself. Certainly worthy of an Arts and Culture Commission with all the colors and graphics and photos. It's a good document. Also, the organization of it, where we do talk about the mission and the particular elements of the mission. First of all, with places, events, making a home for artists and investing in the future of the arts. The one area in there, the second, that I actually mentioned fourth, but the second, investing in the future of arts and culture, and there's reference to preserving our historical resources in Old Town and other areas where feasible. I hope that the Arts and Culture Commission will truly take the lead in expanding our reach in terms of the history of our community. Old Town, without a doubt, is the most historic and, of course, the oldest area of our city. But we've got a lot of other areas that are certainly worthy of their own historical context, and I like that reference in here to other areas of the community in taking a look at the history of those. Just one other comment. I'm wondering if it would be appropriate if you might introduce the other members of the commission.
Okay.
So that we can
well,
all know
here
who
this
they
evening,
are. I think we know one of them, but
yeah. Our local celebrity, of course, is Bob Dyer. He's a former city council member. I'm sure almost everybody knows. So he's been part of our commission since the founding, and we've been active in creating the master plan and moving forward with some of these things as well. In the back is Marty Myers. She's a member of council from Hawaii and experience in theater management and things along that. And I'm trying to remember some of these things from the top of my head too, because I don't remember the resumes. But Suzanne Ellenbogen, sitting next to Marty, is a local artist and active in other art commissions, right? And I always think Tucson. I almost said Tempe, but yeah, Tucson. And then our cultural consultant is Mike Hughes. a huge collaboration working with Janess Brewer. Sorry, I almost forgot that too. Moving 23.4 degrees. So for the color and organization and all the things about the document, the actual book you guys really love, it's really all their fault. They are the ones that put it all together and got all the pictures and everything and did all the real legwork and accumulating all the data and everything that we got from the steering committees and all that to come up with the plan. And everything is pretty much public input. And you know, this is a direct result of having 3 or 4 steering committee meetings. And we had a pretty good response to the survey that we put out, about 350, 357, something like that. And so we did get a lot of good public input along the way. And so,
Okay, well, thank you. I commend you on the report.
Thank you.
And your presentation.
Great. Mr. Jones?
Thank you. I thought Mr. Murray was going to go. No, that's fine. I just wanted to say thank you. In fact, when I saw the booklet show up on Friday afternoon, I don't know if it was last Friday or the Friday before, I was pleasantly surprised. One, I wasn't expecting it, but 2, it was very well done, which doesn't surprise me coming from a bunch of artists. But I love the quote by Dr. Seuss, it's not what it is, it's what it will become. And I think that's what's important as we consider kind of this art in public places and what that might look like for Arvada. So thank you for the work to the committee, and I'll just say that Suzanne was my neighbor, and I've seen some of her art, and so she's an amazing artist, and I think that's awesome. So thank you for your work, everyone on the committee.
You know, I should point out that the actual graphic design of the book was Maria Vanderkolk's staff, Steve Milkey is his name, that actually put the book itself together. So
well, and
in collaboration with us and our consultant, 23.4.
Well, I've always said we've got a great staff, so that just...
So there actually several people had a lot to do with it.
Mr. Pfeiffer?
If there aren't any other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
I would like to ask one question.
Okay. One question, Nancy.
You want me to take the order?
So, Mr. Devon, one of the asks in the plan is that they would like to double the money that the city is currently giving them. Do we have the funds for that?
I believe that's the money for art in public places, correct? Is that's my understanding.
Doubling that fund,
Doubling
right? Because
that fund.
that fund right now is about 100,000.
50,000.
50,000. Oh, I thought that was going for the committee. The 50,000 right now is for the committee, or?
It's for the purchase of art.
And
maintenance, yeah.
Yeah. So we are looking at that as something that has a high priority in our update of the 10-year capital plan. And we'll let you know when we will certainly bring that forward as part of the consideration of the budget, next 2-year budget.
So does the committee have any money at all at this point to do anything next?
Right now, my understanding is we have $50,000 towards maintenance and $50,000 towards the acquisition. Where's Brian?
No, so the total each year is 50,000. Roughly had split that 20,000 for acquisition, 30,000 for maintenance, but there's also been a pool of money that's been established over time because not all those funds have been spent. I don't remember what that number is off the top of my head, but that's it. That's all of the money that's available today.
So we are looking at doubling that 50,000 to make it 100,000. That would be one of the things that has a high priority for us as we prepare the next updated 2-year budget.
And some of that money would be not just for maintenance and acquisition, but it would be for some of the goals that they have listed here on page 25. In other words, you know, money that would go towards development of a database, you know, creating this document with the survey results, having the ability to talk to artists and, well, that's one of them, talking to artists and art-related businesses to relocate to the city, but there was also, you know, being able to look at current artists and are there ways that we can support artists, living and work spaces, that type of thing? In other words, there's a vision here on page 25 consisting of many activities that can be done, but right now we're not actually providing any money for it, as Ms. Miller said. Is that something that we're actually going to look at in terms of allocating money towards not just acquisition and maintenance, but allocating money towards the committee so that they can do other things?
I think that's a future discussion we can certainly have with the committee, and if we get a proposal for how they would like to allocate those funds and what outcomes and results could be generated from it, then we can certainly propose something.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yeah, before I make the motion, I appreciate at least looking into it, because I know when I was on the ZARP commission, the issue is some of the obligations we've taken on as a city by acquiring the art or having it donated to us. We have an obligation to maintain it and restore it to a certain standard. And if I recall correctly, I think most of that art is well into hundreds of thousands of dollars to restore. So they'd have to save up for several years before they can restore one piece of art. So, you know, I think it's important that we look at least doubling, you know, the 50,000. So I move that resolution 18-055, a resolution adopting the City of Arvada's cultural master plan, be approved.
Motions for approval? All votes cast. That passes 7-0. Thank you all for your work. We look forward to the work continuing.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have ordinances on first reading. Mr. Marriott.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that Council Bill 18-025, an ordinance amending Section 26-33 definitions and Section 26-38 powers of Chapter 26 Civil Emergency or Local Disaster, and Council Bill 18-026, an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement among the City of Arvada, the City of Aurora, the Town of Bennett, the City of Brighton, the City of Commerce City, City of Federal Heights, the Town of Lochbuie, City of North Glen, City of Thornton, City of Westminster, and Adams County for an Adams County Collaborative Transportation Planning Agreement to establish the Adams County Council of Governments, ADCOG, sub-regional forum process. Both be approved on first reading, ordered published in full, and public hearings set for June 18th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m.
Motions for approval of ordinances on first reading. All votes cast. That passes 7-0. Thank you. We have no public hearings tonight. Is there any other public comment at this time? Mr. Dyer, you got 5 minutes if you want it. Thank you. Next, we have reports from City Council. I'll call upon Dot Miller for a motion.
I took very important notes on my motion earlier, and I wanted to save them.
Right.
I move to appoint Justin Holstein to the Park Advisory Committee for an unexpired term ending April 30th, 2019.
Okay, motions for appointment. All votes cast. That passes 7-0. Are there any other reports from City Council members? Mr. McGough, you're first.
Thank you. As the council is aware, I serve as the city's representative to the Jefferson County Community Corrections Board. I will be attending the state convention or state assembly of the Community Corrections Board in the next few days. But one thing I'd like to just bring to your attention is that there's increasing pressure being placed upon the Community Corrections Board to place more inmates into the community corrections system instead of into the Colorado Department of Corrections, the prison system. Those convicted of crimes can be sentenced to community corrections at the front end when a prison sentence is also considered, but community corrections is considered by the judges. And then, as inmates come out of prison, as they've completed their sentence, they are recommended for, or they have statutory, they can be considered for community corrections statutorily. Well, there's increasing pressure on both ends to divert people from the prison system and to respond positively to them at the end of their prison system. So I just want to make you aware that those pressures are increasing from the legislature, and that's primarily because of costs at the state level. So much of that is being pushed down to the community corrections and ultimately to the community level. So just want to make you aware of that.
Thank you. Ms. Ford?
I would just like to invite everyone to a meet and greet that I'm going to be sponsoring on June 14th, next Thursday night from 7 to 9 at Trinity Presbyterian Church. Everyone is welcome. It is definitely for District 1 residents, but anyone else is invited as well.
Very good. Thanks for doing that. Any other council reports? Okay, Mr. Devon?
Just a reminder, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, next Monday's workshop, we will have a presentation from the transportation advocates for the state ballot initiative. It's called the Let's Go Colorado campaign. And then the police department will be doing the first health of the city presentation. We will get an overview on crime trends and other issues affecting public safety in Arvada, and hopefully we'll have a lot of engagement and questions from the council as part of that discussion, and hopefully good information for the community as well.
Mr. Daly? Nothing. We stand adjourned. Thank you all for your work tonight.